Well, hello, my friends, and let me welcome you to the Bailey Report. I'm your host, Javier Bailey, and today I want to share with you and for us to discuss a very important topic, and it is whether or not uh, some rap music that is being released today is degrading or empowering our community. That's the topic. Rap music, degradation or empowerment. Recently, a blog and a periodical called entertainment periodical under the title "Truth Be Told" raised the same question, and that question is whether or not some of today's lyrics, not just rap music, but music as a whole, is degrading the women and the youth of our society. Versus whether or not we're actually empowering them through individuality and cultural freedom. Uh, and it is a topic that needs to be discussed. It is not a topic that is new, though. In the 1950s, there was a show that came on television regularly called Amos and Andy. You can still find some of those episodes of Amos and Andy on television. The NAACP fought very hard to have Amos and Andy taken off regular television, although it was one of the few shows at that time where black folks made up the entire cast. And those black folks in that show were business owners, and there was a lawyer and a doctor, and but they said that the way that they talked and the image that they gave was an embarrassment to our community. I question that. You should question that. Then later, in the 70s, we had good times, and there were several black groups across the country that raised Cain about good times and how they never got out of the ghetto and how they were clowning and buffooning and how it was an quote unquote embarrassment to educated black folk. Good times. Although both parents were in the home, although they loved their children and worked hard, poverty was their only a marker. But there were several black organizations, civil rights organizations, that fought very hard against the show Good Times. Later on, I can remember in 1991, the minister Louis Farrakhan gave a speech, and it was called "The Menace to Society." And the question he raised and the point that he made was that there were many movies, Boys in the Hood and Strapped and Juice and Menace to Society, that was desensitizing the world to the plight of black youth. And that, and this was his prediction I think it was 1991. He said that we would begin seeing police officers and other institutions to begin eliminating young black males because society saw them as boys in the hood, always strapped, and menaces to society. That those images desensitize a nation and the world as a whole toward who we really were. That they would begin seeing all of us in that manner because many whites, their only contact that they have with the black community is what they see on television and at the movies, what they hear on the radio, and so forth. The cultural markers, the cultural indicators that and representations that are out there for the black community have changed. Then we got into the mid 80s, and our music became independent. Our people were no longer depending on major labels for distribution and production. And so companies like Def Jam and So Def and out of Houston, Jay Prince's company there, Rap A Lot, began putting out music, and a lot of it had messages in it that were startling at times, but also empowering. Public Enemy, the Ghetto Boys, uh, Black Thought, Dead Presidents. Uh, they began to put out music that enlightened us, so to speak. Had to be independent because the major labels would never put that kind of music out. But we took a turn when NWA came out with what we all now pretty much consider to be the genesis of gangster rap. Mm, but gangster rap had nothing on what's being put out today. I want to share something with you. Recently, I watched the BET Awards, 2023 BET Awards, and I was startled. I was startled at the behavior. I was startled at the dress. I can remember a time when award shows, everybody showed up in tuxedos. I can remember a time when major black artists, even if they didn't wear a tuxedo, at hip hop awards, would at least be dressed in a manner that was uplifting, that showed them as business people, right? But now things have changed. Listen to this. These are the lyrics to Pound Town, sung by Sexy Red and produced by a young man out of my hometown, out of Memphis, by the name of Tay Keith. I'm gonna get past the opening lyrics, and the first verse goes, "I'm out of town, thugging with my rounds, my coochie pink, my booty hole brown. Where the niggas? I'm looking for the hoes. Quit playing, nigga. Come suck a bitch toe. Pound Town. Just left Pound Town with my nigga. He just took a bitch down. Yeah, that nigga D a bitch down. Yeah, that nigga eat me out. Pound Town. Just left Pound Town with my nigga. He took a bitch down." Now, I'm going to stop right there. You get the point. You see, this is one of the most popular songs in the nation today, and BET, Black Entertainment Television, had the audacity to highlight this song in a live performance by the artist Sexy Red, who, by anybody's standards, looked like she just got off a street corner on that stage. Now, the sister may be talented. I don't know her. I am one that keeps up with modern music, and I want you to understand something. I might be 60 years old, but I have no problem with rap music, nor do I have any problem with hip hop. In fact, I can probably quote more lyrics than most of you who are half my age. But there are some lyrics that have no cultural value whatsoever. It's not uplifting, it's not even entertaining. It is meant to be degrading. Now, here's where it gets complicated. You see, it is the female artist degrading the women. It is the female artist that is uh, uh, putting these kinds of lyrics out there. Now, why is that important? So, when a black woman, when an African American woman goes on stage on a live audience around the world and she portrays herself in this way and she uses lyrics like this, I begin to agree with Minister Louis Farrakhan, and that is that she is now desensitizing the rest of the world and making it okay to degrade and humiliate and put down black women. For those people around the world who only see black women in music videos and movies and on television, that they have no social interaction with educated or professional or even young black folks who have yet to reach that stage in life on a regular basis, this becomes the image that forms in their head. So it becomes okay to call our women black bitches. I can remember a time that if you used that term, you had a fight on your hands. Even today, if I heard someone call my wife or my mother or my daughter black bitch, I'm going to leave you laying in a pool of your own blood. Now, what I'm saying to you is I'm not advocating violence. What I'm advocating is uh, internal accountability. We as a people have got to begin holding our artists accountable for what they put out there in the atmosphere, what they, for the image that they show the world. I talked earlier about, and I mentioned Amos and Andy. Give me 20 Amos and Andys before you show me a sexy red. Give me 50 JJs and good times before you should put lyrics like this in front of our children. You see, as we go from one generation to the next, we were embarrassed about Amos and Andy. We were, some of us, I wasn't. Some of our people were embarrassed about good times. They talked about they didn't want to be seen as being poor. What's wrong with being poor? What's wrong with a struggling family? They stayed together. They loved each other. Mom and dad were there together. But it's okay for a half naked, bad skin, bad body sister to, and when I say bad, I don't mean good, I mean tore down, to parade across a television screen for the whole world to see, talking about her booty hole and her coochie. Now, I'm not trying to be vulgar. What I'm trying to do is emphasize the point that it is time for us to hold our youth and Hollywood and the record industry accountable for how they portray our people. I want you to understand something. If this were the Jewish community, they wouldn't put up with that. If this were the Asian community, they wouldn't put up with that. They wouldn't put up with being called chinks or Jews being portrayed as being uh, swindlers and all those old stereotypes that a segregated America created. But we are now perpetuating the images. We are doing it. It's not white folks doing it. We are perpetuating the images that we took decades to reject. What is the difference in this sister uh, and the manner in which she looked and the manner in which she spoke at the BET Awards, the manner in which she performed? What's the difference in her and um, and the degradation of the black woman by the Ku Klux Klan? Is there a difference? Is it okay when we do it, when we publicly degrade our women, versus when the white man does it? Is that okay? Let me tell you something. If we don't begin policing our own communities, if we don't begin policing our artists, if we don't begin holding them accountable for how they are tearing our communities apart, if we don't begin uplifting our black women and our young black men to a point where we demand respect, then the rest of the world won't respect us either. The rest of the world will not respect us. So we can't complain when a white man throws a black woman on the ground. And he's in uniform, he's got on a badge, throws her on the ground, puts his knee in her back. And we say, look how he's treating that black woman. But then we have young black men. Let me share one with you uh, that recently came out. Uh, we have young black men like uh, this young man from my town, uh, um, Moneybag Yo, who talks about black women as if they're nothing but sexual objects. They have no other. Uh, they have no other uh, value other than their sexuality. Drake, Future, Young Thug's "Way Too Sexy," which peaked at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 charts, included a turn up. It included lyrics that said this: "A turn up little thotty, ain't no wife about it. I'ma F her friends and send her back to Metro housing." This is what our young black men are saying about our sisters. Now listen, man, I ain't no fuddy duddy. I want young folks to be able to have fun, and I am one who truly believes in the First Amendment. I truly believe in the First Amendment. That is, that we ought to be able to express ourselves in manners that uh, are in manners that gives us individuality and freedom. However, when our expressions begins to undermine the fabric of our whole existence, begins to undermine the ability of my grandchildren and great grandchildren having a future in this nation, then I think it's time to hold them accountable. And I think you should too. Think about it. Think about it. Are we boys in the hood strapped with the juice and menaces to society? I think not. That is not the sum total of our existence. And it's time that we demand a different perception. And we hold our artists, our actors, and actresses, we hold Hollywood, we hold music labels accountable for how they portray us before the world. Thanks for joining the Bailey Report.